I'm Sarah Bivens.
And I'm Matthew Bivens.
We had a home birth back in 2016.
So we started a podcast about it.
And then grew it into a birth brand to help future and current parents believe in their success with home birth.
This is the place to hear home birth stories along with helpful resources and tips to feel empowered and supported in your birth journey.
This is Doing It at Home. Hey team, welcome back to Doing It at Home. Today's episode is a rebroadcast, a fan favorite from back in the beginning of 2020. It's a really great episode and I'm excited for you to hear it. Before we get into it, just a couple of reminders and updates for you. One, we updated our Instagram handle. Woo! Exciting times, y'all. We are now at Doing It at Home instead of the previous handle, which was DIAH Podcast. Now we are officially Doing It at Home. So if you have not been following us on Instagram yet, now is the time to do so and search for it with the handle Doing It at Home. If you're already following us, then you'll see that it updated and it changed. And so nothing really different for you. Same great content, just now a more appropriate, full encompassing handle to cover everything of Doing It at Home. So that's there for you. And be sure to get your copy of the book, Doing It at Home, available on Amazon in paperback and in ebook format. You can check that out. The links for that are in the show notes of today's episodes and also linked from our social media accounts. All the ways. If you find Doing It at Home, you'll basically be able to find the book there in Amazon. And when you get your book, please take a photo and tag us Doing It at Home or send it to us, whatever. Just let us know and let us see you reading your book out in the wild or whatever you're doing with it. We would love to see that. And be sure to check out all the links again for today's episode. Follow us, subscribe, check out the new YouTube channel, Doing It at Home. Subscribe to that and turn on notifications so you see all the new content that we post there as well. Okay, those are the updates and the announcements for you. We're going to have a quick word from our sponsor and then our episode. Bye.
Hi, Dorit. Welcome to the Doing It at Home podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm doing amazing.
Awesome. We're very excited to have you on the show, so we appreciate you carving out some time to hang out with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Kids are not here. I'm ready to begin this week.
Yes.
Beautiful.
I love it. So why don't you kick us off with talking about those kids that are not there right now and just share who you are, your family, and what you're up to and where you live.
Thank you. I would love to. So my name is Dorit Palvanov. I am a wife. I am a mom of 3 girls. I live in Toronto, Canada. And my story, I mean, obviously, every story is unique and special. My story is kind of unique in a way that I come from a family where we mostly have girls. Actually, last month, my sister broke the spell of females in our family for 37 years. So my mom had 3 girls. I have 3 daughters. My sister, her first daughter is a girl. So we know how to make girls. And so for us, for me particularly, I'm a very, kind of like a woo-woo kind of girl. I like anything holistic, organic, the nature. You can call me a tree hugger. I'm just very aware and connected to Mother Nature and Mother Earth. And I've just always thought that there is much more to it than just, surface level. And I started learning more about, what does it mean? For sure, the creator, there is a reason why I am meant to birth 3 daughters, and my mom did it, and I am doing it, and why, my family has so many girls. And that led me, that research and that studying led me to really unfolding this whole new world of understanding more about feminine power, the divine feminine, and really understanding how the hormonal system works for specifically the female hormonal systems work. And so that is what I do in my work. I help women to really cultivate that connection with themselves, with the divine feminine, and really bring it to their lives, to their homes, to the workplace, to anything and everything that is required for to learn and how to engage the feminine energy in our lives. That's basically the work that I do. And as far as my girls, each one of them is, each one of their births was so unique. And now, retrospectively, when I'm looking back and writing my birth stories, I'm just learning there's so much in each one of them, as a life lesson for me. So my first daughter, before I go into that, I have to just add that I have always, coming from a family of girls, of female, I've always wanted and desired to be a mom. Like I felt like I just wanted with every cell of my being. And so when my husband and I got married when I was 25. And so at 26, I already had her. So we literally, after 5 months of, being married, we conceived, and she was, our life together literally started as parents. So when she was born, I didn't even think of, I didn't even know that a midwife was available, and that wasn't even an option. I went with my doctor. I found an OBGYN and, went to the normal checkups. But right there in the office, waiting for him to be seen for 10 minutes at a time, I already hated it. I hated it. And at the time, I didn't know to admit it. Now I know. But I remember, scheduling the appointments and then waiting for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half to be seen. And then the 10 minutes that, he wouldn't even examine me sometimes. It was just questions. Very rarely he would even look in my eyes. And I know not all doctors are like that, but my experience was so. And so the moment when it was time for me to have a baby, I remember I was gaining a lot of, it was weight, but it wasn't really weight. I was retaining water, and I was huge. I was so big. Even pictures, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's not even possible for me to be that big. It was so big. I hated being pregnant. Anyway, so I remember I was just so tired and swollen. My fingers, my toenails, everything was just so swollen. I felt like a whale. And I remember I was about 38 and a half weeks pregnant, and I went to him and I just said, "Doctor, that's it. I can't. I need to have this baby." And he's like, "Okay, no problem. Here, go now to the hospital. They will induce you." So then my first one was welcomed into the world with load of Pitocin, and at the time I remember going to these classes for birth, and we actually loved them. We appreciated having them, as being first-time parents, and they taught us that if you know yourself to be someone who doesn't manage pain well, make sure to ask for epidural as pain management. So when I got to the hospital, that's the first thing I told him. I said, "I need the epidural, please. I just need it." And so I did it, and so they started injecting me with the Pitocin. On that bed, I felt like a cell phone. It was like charging a phone. I was just plugged to so many, tubes and wires, and it was just very robotic. It's now retrospectively that I have, different experiences of birth. I know that first experience was very kind of robotic and mechanic in that sense. So when they attached me to all these wires and the Pitocin and then the epidural, the doctor he administered the epidural to me. And I remember looking at the monitor, and the nurse says, "Oh wow, look, you're having such heavy, like big contractions. They're supposed to be really painful, but I feel nothing." So I just felt very dissociated. It's like I was there, but I wasn't. That makes sense. Like I guess later on I started, and now, with the work that I do with women and mothers, I understand that there is a purpose for pain. It's not, yes, we don't want to feel it. We want nothing to do with it, right? We opt out of it. And very similarly, how we do with our periods, right? We just don't want to have that nuisance. And so we opt out of it. We choose not to have it, but not understanding that there is a reason. So I just wish somebody would just explain to me that, yes, it is going to be painful, but there is a purpose for it, right? And so you're designed as a female to experience the pain, to feel the pain, but there is a reason for the pain. It's so that you feel more connected to the birth experience itself, and then when the baby comes, you will feel connected to the baby. And so it was nothing like that for me. I just felt like it was like I was observing, and everybody were moving, and there were so many people coming and going into the room, and the nurses. So I was administered to the hospital around 10 a.m. and I had the baby at 8:45 a.m. the next day. So I was there for almost 24 hours, and I think there were about 5 or 6 nurses, shifts changed during that time. Now, they were all very nice. I have nothing to say. But it's just that, I wasn't, the moment I bonded with someone, she was gone. And then you bond with another one, and then she's gone again. And so I just didn't understand the importance of having just one person being there with you the entire time. And so my mom was there, my husband was there, and my birth just didn't progress. Even with the Pitocin, it just didn't. Like my body did not want to open up. The pain was already at that, in that moment, the pain was, I started feeling pain because they thought something is not right. So they reduced the epidural. They wanted me to feel the pain. So the pain is there. It's excruciating. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't move, but my body doesn't open. And so the nurse said, well, we have to break your water, because otherwise it's going to be a C-section, and, it's not going to be good. We need to do something. So they intervened. They broke my water. And once they opened my water, everything was like really quick. So they lowered the epidural. So I was able to feel the baby, but then they told me, start pushing. Okay. So I was on my back. My husband is holding my left hand. My mom is holding my right leg. And okay, push. So I started pushing, guys, like an insane person. Like I just needed this baby to be out. Yeah. And so I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And everybody's screaming, oh, we see the head. Oh, we see the, black hair. We see it. And I'm like, okay, but I'm like not excited at all. I just want her out. And so eventually the doctor, so the gynecologist walks in, and it was not my doctor because he wasn't on call. And so there was just such a mean doctor. I remember that. She just didn't even look in my face. She just looked down there, and she said, and she was looking at the nurses. She's like, okay, we need to cut. Like we need to do an episiotomy, because otherwise, it's going to be a C-section, and the baby is not going to. Oh, my baby was sunny side up. That's the reason. Wow. So they needed to cut, and I'm like, no, don't cut. And she's like, well, no, I'm going to cut, because otherwise you won't be able, you're going to tear, and it's going to be a big, you don't want that. So trust me, Okay, fine. So she cut. Thank goodness I didn't feel any of that. And so the baby was born and fine. So you know how that moment everybody tells you, the birth is going to be terrible, it's painful, but the moment they put the baby on your chest, you forget all the pain. I remember that's what I was told. So I had nothing of that. I was so tired. I was so exhausted from the pushing. Each one of my capillaries totally broke. Each one of my face, on my chest, in even my eyes, everything exploded. It was so intense. And then it was my doctor's shift. So he came and he looks at me. He's like, "Oh wow, you're so red." Yeah, it's from the pushing. It's from the pushing. Okay, but in that moment, I almost feel ashamed to admit it. But I know that this is just part of my journey. But I didn't really bond with my baby. I didn't. I just wanted someone to take her away. I remember it so clearly. Plus, I also knew that my mother-in-law was there. She wasn't there at the birth, but the moment she came out, the moment Shelly came out, my mother-in-law came in. And at the time, now I love her dearly. She's like a mother to me. But at the time, I was just I was just learning about her as a person, right? We were just starting our relationship. And the hormones, and I just didn't want her in. And there was just so much resistance. And so the cocktail of feelings and the emotions in that hour, it was just unbelievably overwhelming. I just became a mom. My husband is there seeing me the way he had never seen. And then my mom is there, and I see this face, I see her being so worried and like something bad is going to happen. And then my mother-in-law is walking in. Oh, and she came in with my brother-in-law. And I was like, I'm half naked. It was just like, what the heck is going on? Who am I? What is going on? It was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It was just it was very intense, very, very intense for me. And the worst part of it is that I don't remember bonding with the baby in that very instant. And then I was so tired. I was so exhausted. And then they moved us from the delivery department into the, how is it called? Like where all the babies are, into like a pediatric place.
Yeah, so maybe like the nursery.
Yeah, nursery. Yeah, sorry. And so that place I still remember, I felt so claustrophobic there. It was so many moms and babies and everybody screaming, and it was so loud. It's just like my nervous system, I just couldn't handle it. It was too much for me. And at the time, I didn't even know. I really didn't. And so I was in a room. We asked for a semi, how do you call it? Like a room.
Private?
It was semi-private. So it wasn't just me in the room. It was me and another lady. Now, I envisioned a semi-private room being like maybe one room, and it's separated with a wall and a door. Between. It was just like a curtain. So, like that mom, like she would put her baby to sleep, my wakes up. And then I put my baby to sleep and her wakes up. And it was just like this constant, nonstop. And then she would get visitors and then I would get visitors. And it was like just, again, so much, again, more and more overwhelmed. And I remember the next day, I begged the nurse. I said, please, I need to get out of here. It was so intense. I couldn't handle it. So then from that point onwards, when we got home, I remember that was like the first moment when we were really happy. I remember happiness because my Shelly was a great sleeper. So we got home. Oh my gosh, we're such first-time parents. We got home in the baby carrier. We put her in the kitchen, like on the floor, and we went to sleep. Like we left her in the carrier in the kitchen. Like she was secure, but we didn't even take her upstairs. Oh my gosh. Anyways, but then we all of a sudden, 3 hours later, we wake up and it's quiet, and we're like, oh my gosh, the baby. So we go downstairs, and she's like quietly sleeping in the baby carrier. So she was really great like that. And I remember on that same day, I'm like, okay, so I need to do the laundry, and I need to clean the house. I just got home from the hospital, and that's what I did. I went downstairs. Our laundry room was in the basement. I did a few loads of laundry. I think I even I cleaned the house. I did something in her bedroom, whatever. But that's how Shelly was introduced into our life. The worst part, I think, was, and now I understand, it's just this my nervous system and my hormones were just completely overwhelmed and overstimulated. And the result of that was my body did not produce any milk. So I wasn't able to breastfeed my baby. And when I had my baby, all I wanted was, and I didn't even research any like formulas, nothing like that. I didn't even like research any bottles. Because I knew, remember I said, I'm a tree hugger. Like I love nature. So I always knew that I am breastfeeding, like I'm doing it the natural way. And I wasn't able to do that. I've had the colostrum. I've fed, everything I've had, I had given to her, and I've went through the cracked nipples and all the pain and all that. But I remember even from the hospital, they rented what's it called, like a breast pump, milk pump, and from both sides, I was able to extract maybe like 30 cc from both. It was like so little, let alone, that process of milking myself, like sitting there, like half of my torso is open, and my husband like walks in and out. So you know this, right? You do this work around sexuality with women. I just completely, in that moment, I had lost my identity as a woman. I just really didn't understand who I am, what am I supposed to do, how am I supposed to feel sexual with this man again when he sees me as a cow, or I feel as a cow. So there were so many, emotions like these in that very intense time of our life. That was like the hardest year for me personally. Just having a tail, like it was really hard. It was really, really, really tough. I wasn't able, you know how it is with like new moms, you lose the control of your time. You want to nap, but you can't because, the baby is not napping, and then you want to eat, but you can't eat. So then you end up eating your food cold. Like when she was colicky and she was she was constantly hungry. My baby was huge. And I remember the time when my mom saw how Shelly was crying nonstop. And I was really, really, I was really stubborn. I'm like, no, I'm going to breastfeed. But there's literally so little milk. It's not coming. And so my mom, against my will, she went to the pharmacy and she got baby formula. And she, I don't remember I think I was there, and I don't know why I didn't resist, but I think it was like my baby was just crying so much that I just said, okay, screw it, like let her try. And so my mom took the baby, she fed her, and for the first time, Shelly just slept. After that hospital thingy, after this hospital incident, when she was still probably, under the influence of the epidural. So she slept for 3 or even 4 hours straight. And that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Enough with this nonsense. I'm just going to bottle feed my baby. And once I have done that, I feel like so much of my nervous system just calmed, because I was really unnecessarily putting myself through so much pressure, right? There's so much like, oh, this should be done this way and this should be done this way. And you're constantly in this state of resistance. And yes, people around you want to help. They want to give you advice, but you're not listening because you're not in a state of receptivity, which is a very, feminine trait. So at the time, I didn't know how to be receptive, how to listen, how to, be in the flow. And so I'm really thankful to my mom that she had done that, because it really allowed me to just allow my nervous system to just calm down. From there, our first year with Shelly was really, the first few months were kind of rocky, but then it was amazing. Like, she was a really good baby. Thank goodness. She was a really easy, happy, smiley baby. She was huge. She was, she was really thriving on the formula. And we were really happy. Like, she was a really good baby. I've read the book, The Secrets of the Baby Whisperer, by Tracy Hogg, and I followed the easy system. So eat, are you familiar, guys, with the system?
I'm not.
No, I haven't heard it.
Okay, so the word easy, it's basically an acronym. So basically, it's a system that is designed to help moms and babies create somewhat of a schedule so that there is predictability, and we loved it. So the E stands for eat, and then the A stands for, I think it's play. Oh my gosh, you see, it's been 10 years. I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
And then EAS, and then sleep. And then Y is your time. So while baby sleeps, it's your time. So basically, you feed the baby, and then there's play time, and then sleep. The baby goes to sleep, and then it's mom's time. So that's the easy system. So we've done that, and it was super successful. Like, it worked amazingly, and she was like, she was just amazing. Like, she just responded beautifully, and every day she went to bed by 6 p.m. She was in bed. So my husband and I had lots of time for ourselves. We were able to get, babysitters and still have a life. And so we felt, oh my gosh, it's going amazing. If that's what parenting is, we can do it again.
That's awesome.
And so when she was 18 months old, we decided, you know what, let's do it again. Oh, I said.
Yeah, okay.
Because I felt like, okay, I can do this. It's going well. We have a routine. Let's do it again. So I only thought of it, and the next month I was already pregnant. It was like that. It was so quick. And I remember it was winter. I think it was February. And so, that's how my second daughter was conceived. For my second daughter, I already knew about midwifery. So I've heard, so I started, I went with Shelly to different programs, mommy and baby, and people talked about midwifery, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds so cool. So I started researching, and the moment I got pregnant, I went to a midwife's office, and they took me in, and in that office, and I loved it so much, they have right in the waiting room, they have this big library of books, and all the books are about natural birth, and it's all about all things natural. Now remember, I love natural, I love nature, and I love
Yeah.
And so I'm like this very hungry caterpillar. I'm like reading and observing, and checking books out. And that's when I was introduced to the Bradley method. And it just made sense to me. It just made everything clicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the right way to birth a baby. This is why, I struggled so much with my first. That's why, I still to this day, by the way, guys, I'm struggling with physical touch with Shelly. Still to this day. It's been 10 years since then. So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it at home. And the midwife said, you can do, there is an option of home delivery. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And my husband thought I'm crazy. My mom thought I need to be, administered to like a mental institution. To my mother-in-law, I didn't even dare to say. They didn't know. I did not dare to say because I knew she would talk me out of it. So they didn't know. They didn't until she was born. My second, they didn't know that I'm gonna have a home birth. Anyway,
Wow.
so I decided to go for the home birth, and I was so ready, and I cooked all these beautiful meals. Like I really followed all the suggestions, all the recommendations. I've prepared, my house. I've had all the meals, frozen, and I myself, I was just like, I set up my bedroom and all the things that they tell you to do. We were almost about to get like the water birth, but thankfully we didn't because our midwife said, you guys, your house is very small. You don't have enough, your water heater is not big enough to keep the water hot for a longer time. We didn't even think of that. But thank goodness they gave us this tip because we were just about to pay $150 to rent that tub. Anyways, we didn't. And so with my second, she was born a week later. So with Shelly, she was born at 38 and a half weeks. My second was born at 41 weeks. Now with her, interestingly, I think because she was my, a fall baby, she was born in November. So I wasn't even returning water as much because it wasn't hot outside. But when she was born, she was just born huge. She was so big, especially with her head. She was born 4 kilos, like she was huge. Anyway, so the birth itself, it was really my shortest birth. It was 8 hours long. And with her, I was in such excruciating pain. You guys, it is nothing that can be described with words. Like I felt it was so primal. I yelled, I screamed, I hit my husband. I think I was pretty aggressive to the midwife as well, to both of them. There were 2 of them there. What a mistake to call my mom, because it was such a big mistake. It was such a big mistake, for all of you who are listening, knowing that you're about to do something that is radical, that your mom maybe is not, she doesn't feel like she's intimately familiar with, then please skip the mom. Do not have your mom there. Because for me, what that did, it added like this, another dimension of fear. I was already in pain. And then seeing my mom, looking at your mom, it's like, that's where you want to look for, to feel, I don't know, some sort of redemption. I don't know, like you want your mom to come and save you, right? And then here you are going through this really difficult pain, and your mom is like, I felt like my mom is gonna faint. Like I thought my mom, she was just, I saw the fear in her eyes, and it did not do good to me. My mom also, it didn't do good to her either. Anyhow, so with my second birth, it was at home, and it went really quickly, in part because I didn't know how to handle the pain. All the Bradley tips and ideas, even though my husband and I, we read them together, and we thought we knew about a doula at the time, but we just thought, you know what, we did it once, it's okay, because here in Canada, it's not paid for by the government. The midwife is included in the health plan, but a doula, we had to pay extra. And the cheapest that we could find was around $800, $900. So we thought, you know what, we did it again. We did it once. We're going to be okay. But the moment the pain hit, you guys, I forgot everything. I didn't know.
All went out the window.
Wow.
Right. It was just, and my husband, he also didn't know how. And so it was so primal, and it was dumb. It really was dumb. It was the stupidest thing that I've done, because I should have had help. I should have hired someone to coach me, to guide me through that pain. I just didn't know. Anyways, this birth also, my body closed up, didn't want to, I was in excruciating pain, but every time the midwife checked me, there was no opening, like maybe half a centimeter. It's just my body just closes up and doesn't want to let go. So again, they had to break my water. So they did. And once they did, she was out in about an hour and a half. So she was born. And what's interesting about that, because I didn't have any epidural, I was able to move. And so I had her on my hands and knees. It was such a weird position for me. But my daughter was, on top of the fact that her head was humongous, she was also holding her fist like that, next to the ear.
Yeah.
So that also, but the midwife was amazing. So she was able to take her hands out first, and then her head and body came up. So that was pretty cool. So that's how my second daughter was brought into the world. Now here, even though all of my capillaries exploded again, and I was in so much pain, and it was my shortest birth, that the moment they put her on my chest, there was an instant bond. Instant.
Beautiful.
Even today, she's 8 years old. I just love hugging her. I just love it. With Shelly now, and of course I'm not going to ever share it with her, maybe when she's older, but I really do still have that, a bit of a distance. It's I have to hype myself up to hug her and to embrace her. I know it's sick, but it's not done naturally to me, if that makes sense. With my second and third babies, you're going to say something, Sarah.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, Dorit, I'm telling you, there are moms right now listening who are resonating with that and can feel whatever they need to feel around that, because it makes sense to me. It totally does. And so for you to share the way that you did, I just really appreciate it, because that's something that I'm sure so many moms kind of grapple with and work around, reconciling in their brain those connections or working on those connections as a result of, the birth experience. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for sharing that, because I know there are mothers listening right now who are benefiting from you sharing that.
Yeah, of course. We need to, I wish I had, access to this stuff. I wish somebody would say, you know what, there is this podcast, Doing It at Home, and there is this lady sharing. I wish I had that stuff. It was just whatever. That was my experience. And we need to, because we need to disengage shame from this story, because at the end of the day, it's not about feeling, shamed for it. It's about what have I learned from it, and what can I pass on to the listeners, to my clients, to my daughters who, hopefully one day will choose to be moms. They need to know this. And really, if there is one takeaway from all of my experience, is please hire a birth coach. That is the thing. because with my third birth, I was finally smart enough to do that. With my third birth, it was just so magical. Now, here's the irony. It was my longest birth. It was my longest. And still, because I've hired help, the doula was with me from the moment I basically started having contractions until the moment the baby was out. So I felt so supported. I felt held. I felt like I could lean on something, like literally and figuratively speaking.
Yeah.
What was interesting also, my husband, because at the time we already had 2 kids plus, another one coming. My husband is self-employed. He worked like a donkey, leading up to the birth. And so he was literally, guys, I'm not kidding, 2 days in a row for like 24 hours, he did not sleep. He just worked. Like he wanted to finish as many projects as possible so that he can be with us when the baby comes. Now, here's the thing. His immune system completely crushed. And so on the day of the birth, he was so sick. He had such a high fever. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, thank goodness I hired help.
Yeah. Oh
my
husband,
gosh, the entire time I was like in the hospital and she was like walking with me. She didn't allow me to sit. Like she said, you have to be moving. The entire time I was, it was about 10 hours where I was just like walking. He was sleeping in the birth room. It was so bizarre now thinking about it. Anyways, but I felt so supported. I felt so like I want this baby, right? Like I want to see the baby come. Like I want to hold her. Even before she was out, I just wanted to hold her so badly already. I was so excited. And I remember, such a simple trick. She brought a sock and she put rice into it. And she would like heat it up in the microwave. And every time I had this intense contraction, she would put it like to my lower tummy. And you guys, that on its own, I'm not kidding, 80% of the pain was eliminated just by applying a hot pad to my tummy. So why do I need to be medicated? I'm so like it was so, for me, it just didn't make sense. And I just wish more women knew that as such a simple thing as just applying heat to your belly when you're having a contraction, that is so helpful. And so, we've done that. And then when it was really coming towards the end, she reserved the bath for that. So the bath was amazing. Obviously, it was nothing like I've had at home. It was big, it was spacious, and there was plenty of hot water. And so, but with this birth, I really don't know why. My body also didn't really open up. So also, they had to break my water. So for all my 3 births, my water had to be broken. And but the moment she came in, I got myself into such a deep hypnotic state. With my second daughter, after she was born, I started a very dedicated yoga practice. So I started learning meditations, and also I learned about hypnobirthing. So I remember that moment when I was like, it was so painful, but I was like on my knees. The bed was against my chest, and I was like so deeply inside, like within myself. So the doula was to my right. My sick husband was to my left. We woke him up, and I remember putting my hand on his forehead, and he was so hot. It was crazy. My mom wasn't there. My mom was watching my older 2 kids. And then you guys, I did not even push. I swear to God, she just came out. She just came out of me. So this third birth, I didn't have any capillaries breaking. Like I was it was amazing. It was really incredibly amazing. And the moment she came out of me, she was she was tiny. But like on her hands and her legs, she had like this baby fat already. It was so cute. I just took her to my hands, and that was that experience that I wanted, where everybody was talking about like orgasmic birth, like that's what I wanted. And I had it. I really did have it. I'm so thankful that I was able to experience it. It took me, 3 births, but that's the experience. And, still, yes, my body did produce milk, but not as much as I would like it to. So all 3 of my kids, I did bottle feed them. But the bottom line was that it was the most important thing for me was to learn how to, be receptive, how to lean in, how to ask for help, how to be guided, how to be coachable, and how to be coached, and how to just receive, help. I think that was like the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, those are the real core things that aren't necessarily delineated in like a parenting strategy or school of thought or style. And yet those are the things that really fuel us to show up for our children. So I really appreciate, how you mention that and highlight that as your work in that process and in those stages. I am curious because I'm sure some audience members are just wondering, so to go from home birth with your second to hospital with your third, was there a discussion or a planning or a thought process around that, or did it just resonate more with you to go to the hospital for your third?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there were a few things. Number one, the biggest thing, the midwife told me that because my second daughter was born with her hand, in a weird position, that was kind of like a higher risk birth. And so they said that with that, it puts me at a higher risk, and they don't take higher risk births into home.
Gotcha.
So the biggest thing was that my midwife she didn't tell me not to do it at home, but she said, I highly recommend for you, for the third one, to do it at the hospital, because then there we have all the tools, we have, all the setup that we need, just God forbid if this happens again, to just be able to support you better.
Okay.
Also,
that makes sense.
So that was the first thing. Number two, I just wanted, I didn't want for my girls to, for my older 2 girls to see me in pain. So I just preferred my mom to come, watch them at home, and then so I could, and instead for me to just leave. So those were the reasons. But other than that, really home birth, it was the best. With my third, actually, after I had the baby, about 2, maybe 3 hours later, we were discharged home. So
That's
it was
awesome.
it was just a delivery that was there. And because I had it with the midwife, and they checked and they saw that me and the baby were good, we were able to go home that same day. But with the home birth, it was the best because, it's your own bed, and it's your own clothes, and it's your own bath, and it's like the comfort of your own home. It's your own food. Like it was the best. Like post-delivery, there is nothing like home birth. It was really, really good. I think if I had, the doula at home, I would probably do it again at home because it was really magical. It was really magical.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dorit. This has all been really amazing. Before we go, I would like you to share where people can find you, where mothers and women can connect with you, and in what capacity. So please share that with us.
Thank you. I would love to. So as you understand, my motherhood experience, it really is the catalyst for the work that I do now with moms, with women. And my website is doritpalvanov.com. So I'm going to spell it out. DORITPALVANOV.com. And so that is the place where I share all of my tips, all of my tricks, blog posts. I also have a podcast. It's called the Confident, Energized, and Sexy Mama Show. And that's where we talk all things women's health. We talk about hormones. We talk about fitness. We talk about our, motherhood experience. We talk about sex, sexuality, divine feminine. We talk all those things that happen to us once we become parents, once we really change. It's such a substantial, I think, divine, sacred event that happens, birth, and it changes so much of who we are, and not only our lives, but who we, like, on a subconscious level, on a mindset level. It changes who we are. It changes our bodies. It changes our relationships with our bodies. It changes our relationships with our sexuality. It changes our relationship with our partners. There's so much in this, and really, I believe so much. Like I said, my number one takeaway is to allow yourself to be supported, to give yourself the permission to be guided. And so that is the work that I do now in the world. I help to guide moms. I help to coach them through, these difficult transitions and transformations in their lives. And so that they don't have to go through the suffering that I went through.
Right.
I think you guys have probably heard this from other people, but we do the work that we need to do in the world, right? We are the ones who offer certain type of work because we are the ones who need to learn it the most. And so, I'm still a student, and I always work with coaches because that, to me, is the most substantial piece that I have learned from each one of my birth stories. So I have the podcast, I have the website, I have the podcast. If there's anybody who's interested to learn how to get more energy, after getting married and after getting kids, then there is a free masterclass on my website. So you can head on over to my website, www.doritpalvanov.com/energy-masterclass. And that's it.
Awesome.
Say that again. Energy dash what?
Masterclass.
Energy Masterclass. Beautiful. And we'll have those links
in the
show notes. Yeah. So links to your website and all that great stuff.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you so much, you guys. It was so much fun. Somebody is finally listening to my birth stories.
Yes. A lot of people are listening to your birth story. So we really appreciate your honesty, your vulnerability, just telling it like it was, and, understanding that there were some moments in there that, like you mentioned, maybe felt a little shame or guilt. And we're just very grateful that you shared fully, because as Sarah said, we know there are mamas and soon-to-be mamas out there who are connecting with the realness of your story. So, Dorit, thank you so much for everything you brought to the podcast today. We really appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thanks, you guys.
Quick note about the Doing It at Home podcast. Matthew and I are not doctors or medical professionals, and nothing we say should be taken as medical advice or opinion. If you have medical or health-related questions, please take them to a trained professional. We're here simply to entertain you with stories and conversations about pregnancy, birth, and parenthood.